Hey, boys and girls, this is Neuronymous, and I'm very, very excited to say this is our 25th episode. We've got 25 now. We've turned 25. Yay! I don't have any sound effects. Sorry. All you get from me is a yay! Anyway, so this has been a fun ride, and now I'm going to quit. So just kidding. No, no, it's going really well. I actually created business cards. And I'm very, very excited. It's got my logo on it. It's got podcaster. I'm officially a podcaster now. I mean, I've been podcasting since October 9th. But this is awesome. I'm so excited. So yeah, this is great. 25th episode, 25. Anyway, I'll stop giving you numbers. And saying the number 25 over and over again. So, I was just thinking to myself, we've got a really great guest on the show today. It's going to be really awesome. She's a lovely, lovely lady. I'll bring her out. It's going to be a Skype interview. She lives a little ways away, not in California, not that far, but she lives in the cities, and I just am too lazy to drive that far. And plus, I have extremely high levels of anxiety driving by myself to Minneapolis or St. Paul or pretty much any metropolitan area except Omaha, Nebraska, because I lived there for the first 30 years of my life. But there it is. Something I've always been. This is going to seem random, but it'll all tie together, just as I always try to do. I've always been really intimidated and scared by religious figures, like rabbis and priests, and pastors, and they, like, for some reason I get really, really intimidated by them because I never know what to expect, and I get really uncomfortable, and I think it's because I get really uncomfortable with anybody in positions of authority. Like when I see like, I've never been arrested, for instance. Okay, I've never been arrested. I've never been in jail. Worst thing that's ever happened to me is that I've gotten a ticket for driving. I've never had any brushes with the law. Okay, but yet I'm still afraid of police officers. So just not just religious figures, but anybody in authority just scares the living shit out of me, and I just freeze up. And I remember there was this time I was driving and I had all of my key tags from one of the 12-step groups that I belong to hanging from my rearview mirror, and there was a police officer right next to me, and I look over and he looks at me, and I smile at him, and I'm like, and as soon as I smile at him, I was like, shit, this motherfucker's gonna pull me over for some reason or another. And sure enough, he pulled me over, and I was like, oh my god, I smiled at this guy. What could I possibly have done to make this guy angry, to make this police officer angry at me? And it turns out I had all those key tags hanging from my rearview mirror, and that was what I got the ticket for. So there's that. So the fear of authority, I think that probably comes from my mother. She was an extremely authoritative figure in my childhood. It all comes back to mom, doesn't it? Right? She could be difficult and very excitable. We'll use that. That's a nice way of saying she got angry at me a lot. But, that being said, I could do whole podcasts on my mom and on my dad, but this is not that podcast. So anyway, getting back to religious figures, I remember, I didn't, I after you have your bar mitzvah, for those who don't know, I'm Jewish. I'm sure you all know because I've said it like a gazillion times, right? I'm Jewish. And I had my bar mitzvah, and there's like this little things change after you have your bar mitzvah. Like when you're 12, basically 1 through 12 or 1 through till whenever you have your bar mitzvah. If when they come around with the Torah, you're supposed to use your Siddur, the prayer book, to touch the Torah, which is our the first 5 books of Moses. The scroll. You're supposed to touch it as they walk around, carry it around the chapel with it, and you use your prayer book to touch it and kiss it. Yeah, get it? See, we're on the same page. When you have a bar mitzvah, however, after that, you use, you have you've seen this, I'm sure, a million times in a million movies and media, whatever. A lot of us Jews, after we've had our bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah for that matter, wear a prayer shawl. And on these prayer shawls, they have these little tzitzit. So you take your tzitzit and you touch the siddur with it, and then you kiss the tzitzit. Well, me being me and being a complete dumbass and forgetting shit all the time, I did not do that. After my bar mitzvah, the rabbi and all the people who were carrying the Torah come around, they stroll by, and I use my siddur, the prayer book, to touch the Torah and kiss my book. And the rabbi, God rest his soul, he just recently passed away, so I probably shouldn't be speaking ill of him, but I'm not speaking ill of him. I'm just telling the facts, Jack. I used my siddur, and the rabbi looks at me and just gives me. He just looks at me, and he just this utter look of disappointment and disgust come across his face. He just shakes his head at me in front of everybody. I'm like, what the fuck? I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I'm used to. I'm a creature of habit, and when you've done something for, the first 12 years of your life, and that's all after I'm sorry, you have to kind of get into practice of using your tzitzit. I just like saying it, tzitzit, to touch the prayer book and kiss that. I've always been afraid of political figures too. Here's a funny story. I'll digress once more. I had a political figure, Chuck Hagel. I was working at a checkout aisle at a supermarket called Baker's. It's now a Kroger's, or it was. I don't know if it's still a Kroger's or not. I haven't really gone to Google it lately, because frankly, I don't give a shit. And so I was in a checkout aisle, and this guy, Chuck Hagel, this political figure, comes through. I lose my shit, and I just completely blank everything, because I'm just so intimidated by the fact that he's in my aisle, and I basically gave him the wrong change, and he all I remember is he had a lot of cough drops, just tons of cough drops, like just he should have just gone to Sam's and gotten them in bulk, but he had like bags and bags of cough drops, and I give him the wrong change. He was like, "Excuse me, sir, I think you've given me the wrong change." And that's kind of gone down in infamy, because I told my dad, and naturally my dad doesn't let things go, and he always makes fun of me about giving people the wrong change. So ha 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 ha. It's a funny joke. So anyway, the reason I bring up religious political figures is because our guest has written 2 books that about a rabbi who solves mysteries. They're suspense thrillers, and the center of them, he's a rabbi. And the name of the author, the name of the wonderful, sweet lady that we're interviewing is named Sheyna Galyan. And the name of the rabbi that is her protagonist is Rabbi David Cohen. She's written 2 books, and one of them, and it's a series. One is called The Destined to Choose, and she is finalist and National Indie Excellence Award finalist for 2015 for her second book, Strength to Stand, which is amazing. I've met her. She was at a Seder that we were at at a Passover, and she's just the nicest lady, and I'm so happy to have her on the show. And I don't know any rabbis that have solved mysteries, other than the fact they probably wonder why I classify myself as a Jew, considering how horrible of a Jew I am. But this rabbi solves mysteries, and that's a pretty cool concept. I like that. I dig it. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the show, and in the next few moments, we will be talking with Sheyna Galyan. Hi.
Hello.
How are we doing again?
Doing pretty good.
Well, you're on the show now, so this means business.
All right. Be
Yes.
serious.
Yeah,
No
well,
fun talk.
no. You never have to be serious on this show. This is like the least serious you'll ever have to be. This is completely. I will say this. I am a little bit more prepared than usual. Usually I just wing it. But for you, Shayna, I've decided to actually jot notes down and like
Oh,
learn stuff beforehand, including the pronunciation of your last name, which was like a huge ordeal earlier because I was like, should I do the intro? Should I not do the intro? Should I? Because like, what if I get the name wrong and then I'm gonna have to re-edit it and blah blah yada yada yada. So it probably doesn't help that I put some energy drink in my soda, so that we have a soda stream. So I'm up, and I'm ready to rock. So yeah. So how are you?
I'm good. I'm
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Do you do? How's your week been? Uh oh.
My week. What day is today?
Today is Friday.
Yeah.
Good Shabbos.
Uh, it's
Almost.
it's one of those weeks where all the days sort of blend into one another.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, no. I work from home, so after a certain point, you're just. Yesterday, like last night, I went to Sam's Club, and as usual, I walked out of the house, and I was like, "This is the first time I've actually stepped out of the house all week." Like, and I'm just like, it's crazy. Like we had some snow, and I haven't used my car all week, and so it was like a castle of snow on my car, and I literally had to beat the shit out of my car. Like I was using my fists to break the ice, like which I felt very manly doing that, very masculine, and I don't usually feel that kind of masculinity, but like the snow, the ice scraper just wasn't covering it, so I was punching my car to get ice off. So, you know, but that's part of the gig. That's part of living in
Right.
Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, even when I in the novels that I write, weather plays a big part.
yeah,
I decided at the beginning I wanted to work with an actual calendar
yeah.
so that I knew when the holidays fell, and I decided for the sake of accuracy and apparently because I belong to the House of Ravenclaw, I went to old weather reports and made note of what the weather was doing back in whenever,
Right.
1998 or 2000
Wow,
or
that's dedication.
so so when there's a snowfall on a particular day in a book, it actually did snow that amount in real life.
Wow, good for you. Yeah, like I said, I'm from Omaha,
There's like its
Nebraska,
own
which is
character.
yeah, it kind of does. Well, that makes sense to me. I'm from Nebraska, which so this should be like this is. I wouldn't say it's worse than Nebraska, but it's definitely I feel like it's a different kind of cold than Nebraska. Because Nebraska's it's very Minnesota-ish, in it's Midwest, but at the same time, like Minnesota. I remember going to Mexico once. Now, which is, and this is kind of I digress a little bit. And I remember like it was summer. It was like summer or spring, and I was like, this one woman was just like, okay, the sun in Nebraska is not the same sun in Mexico. If you're in the sun in Omaha, you'll be okay. If you're in the sun for 15 minutes in Mexico, you're gonna probably turn into a lobster. Like 15 minutes. Yeah. So.
I completely understand. Our family went to Israel for the first time a year ago
So
summer
jealous. Yeah.
and discovered that sun poisoning is a thing, and I got it.
Oh no. What was that like?
Very painful and itchy.
Oh man.
It was actually, yeah, it's an allergic reaction son.
Yeah.
And it was after spending half the day at Masada and then the next half of the day in the afternoon at the Dead Sea.
Wow.
And it wasn't a burn.
It was.
It was, yeah, but it was like little itty bitty,
like hives?
incredibly itchy, tiny blisters.
You know what? That's really weird because when I was younger, like when I would be in the sun, I'd get these hives, and like we went to Universal Studios once, and like they had to take me to the infirmary or yeah, whatever. They took me to the whatever the thing is called, and yeah, there you go. And yeah, no, I had a weird childhood. Shayna. It was the whole thing is an ordeal. But yeah, so I have to ask. It was very dark when you first saw me a little while ago. Is it better now? Can you see me a little bit?
Yes, much better.
Well, I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry you have to see that. I've got bozo hair. I keep meaning to get a haircut, but I keep not wanting to go outside because I'm a homebody, and now I just kind of look like Bozo the Clown, or Pennywise for that matter. So let's get to business. Let's I read your bio, and so you're originally from California.
Yes, Northern California.
Northern California. What was how'd that go?
It's when you're not from California,
right?
It's wonderful because a very temperate climate,
Mm-hmm.
and I was relatively close to the ocean, and
Oh, nice.
you've got mountains and you've got water, and but when you're from there, and again, I'm speaking Northern California. Southern California is a whole different animal. It's boring.
Okay. Okay.
It's hot in the summer and it rains in the winter, and they're just weather-wise there isn't a lot of variety.
Yeah.
It's very crowded. If I wanted to go see the snow,
Yeah.
I had to battle I don't know how many thousands of other people who were driving to the mountains to see the snow, and it was a 4 or 5 hour drive.
Jesus.
From where I was, and here it comes to my door. It's like,
oh, there you go.
It's awesome.
So when you say you came to Minnesota for the weather, you really meant it. I thought you were just making a joke. It said it because it says your bio says the weather. You came for the weather, and I was gonna call bullshit, and but you really actually came for the weather, and props to you, man, because Amanda told me you're coming to Minnesota. I was like, okay, all right, I guess I'm coming to Minnesota. Happy wife, happy life situation type thing, So, yeah. So, what?
My husband works in the tech industry, and he's a network engineer.
Yeah.
And when we knew that we needed to leave California in 1993, all of the tech jobs were going to one of 3 places at the time. They were going to Seattle, which wanted to send all former Californians home.
Yeah.
Or they were going to Austin. And referencing the earlier sun poisoning, I don't do well with heat. Or they were going to the Twin Cities.
Okay. Oh, whoa, hey.
So it was like, hey, and my mom grew up in Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And she had stories about, rowing boats on the lakes and
sure.
summers and swimming, and she made it sound really
She really
awesome.
Glorified Minnesota or the Midwest.
She left out the mosquitoes and the shoveling snow.
Yeah. My wife and I, as you probably are aware, we bought a house, right? Like last year or something like that. And I have a very love-hate relationship with it because I love the fact that I have this amazing castle that surrounds me now. But now we have to shovel snow.
Yes.
I didn't see that coming for some reason. That was not in my mindset when I said, "Hey, we should pick this one with the backyard," and like, so now whenever there's snow, like I'm just like, I curse a lot. I hope it's okay. I don't mean to offend, but I was like, what the fuck was I thinking wanting to go to move to a house? Like, I was like, and I'm sorry. I hope my language doesn't offend you.
No, no, not at all.
Okay, good, good. Yeah, no, that's pretty much when Amanda pulled out the shovels and was like, all right, let's do it, and I was like, oh god, oh man, I'm gonna have a heart attack. This is how people die of heart attacks, and it's shoveling snow. This is gonna be the end of me. But you know what? I survived, and I actually have done it a couple times by myself without any help. And like if you ask Amanda, I don't know if you talk to her very often, but if you ask her, I don't know shit about anything when it comes to like power tools. Anything that involves masculinity is pretty much I leave it to her. So she's the brains and the brawn of the operation. I'm just an amoeba who sits on the couch and occasionally reads my Kindle.
Touches your car.
Right, yeah, and beats the shit out of my car. Right, yeah, exactly. So so you came to Minnesota. About what age did you come?
I was, how old was I? 23?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
was 23.
So flashing back a little bit. So I mean, when you were in California, I mean, how was it growing up? I mean, just the whole. How was your? I'm gonna be like a whole. This is like a therapy session. How was your childhood?
Tell me about your mother.
I actually talked about my mother in the intro. I always do my intro before I talk to my guests. And I was talking about my mother, and she probably wouldn't like what I had to say. But how did it go? What was your experience in Northern California like, as far as like just growing up with your family and because I'm assuming everything that happens to you kind of plays a role in your creative process, your writing process. I mean, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
No, I completely agree. I've been asked the question before, like, if I could redo 5 years in my life, which 5 years would I do?
Or eat.
Or, if I could skip over something, what would I skip over? Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And honestly, I wouldn't do anything differently.
Yeah.
Knowing what
Totally.
I know now, because everything I went through made me who I am today.
Exactly. Sure. Totally get that.
If I missed out, if I skipped, 5 years of something that was not fun, I would be a different person.
Yeah.
So, and at the time, I mean, in the muck, I would absolutely have said, yes, I want to skip this.
Yes.
Like, get me out of here.
Yeah.
So it's really only now that I'm on the other side of it.
Yeah. Sure.
I can look back and I can see the gifts that it had for me.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to see when you're in it, but when you're past it,
yeah,
the healing process is finding those gifts and then putting them to use.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
my growing up was challenging.
Yeah.
In a word.
Okay.
I'm not gonna get too detailed.
That's fine.
But it's, we had happy times,
ups and downs. Yeah.
The downs were really down.
Yeah.
There was a fair amount of chaos and violence and a complete lack of boundaries.
Okay. Yeah.
That was probably one of the hardest things for me as an adult then, because I didn't know how to set my own boundaries and then how to honor them.
Right. I totally get that. I think, and it's really weird because for me, like, you know, I had, I mean, talk about ups and downs. Like, I mean, and you know, it's not it's never a competition. Obviously, I mean,
No.
it's we all, you know, I hate people who try and one up, you know, the other person. But yeah, I mean, you know,
Pain
for
is pain.
yeah, exactly. Pain is pain. I mean, I was paralyzed from the head down, and I had a, you know, I love my mom, but she was extremely domineering, and like it was a very, very tough childhood as far as just, you know, my mom is, you know, very on edge most times, and you know, we it was not. I was threatened to be put into Boys Town on several occasions, which, you know, when you're 6 years old or 7 years old and your mom's like, I'm sending you to Boys Town, like that's like the scariest shit in the world, because you're just like, well, hey, well, oh my god, I'm a bad kid, you know. But no, absolutely ups and downs, you know, and that's I think most kids, I mean, the kids that say that they like had like this amazing upbringing, amazing childhood, I just, there's got to be something shady going on. I don't know. Like I don't trust that. I don't. I mean, growing up as a kid is just a like a shitstorm. It's like a dumpster fire shitstorm. And if people if and the kids that and the people that say, "Oh, I had this amazing childhood," I'm just like, "Fuck you talking about?" Like
So
seriously.
here's an interesting thing because
Yeah.
I would initially completely agree with you.
Initially. Okay, sure.
I've heard that
Yeah.
there are people who have lovely childhoods,
Mhm.
but I'm not sure that I've ever met any of them.
Yeah, me neither.
On the other hand,
Yeah.
I have two kids who
Yeah.
are, one of them is on the cusp of adulthood,
Yes.
or
Yes.
15 and 17 and a half. No, actually, no, 15 and a half and less than a month from 18.
Yeah. He was
Um,
hungry. He was looking in your fridge behind you a few moments ago.
that was the younger one.
Yep.
Um, and and I'm sure that they would say, you know, there have been ups and downs in their lives too.
Yeah.
But they've also told me that, and this is like, this is where I know I have done what I set out to do as a parent.
Right.
They tell me that they have always felt listened to, they've always felt respected, they've always felt like when they say no, they're heard. When they ask for something, they're heard.
Yeah.
I mean, when they ask for something, the answer might be no, but it's never out of you don't matter.
It's not.
Always
Yeah.
out of, you know, here's the situation and here's why I'm telling you no.
Yeah.
They've never experienced the kind of
Emotional
the
issues.
kinds of things that I experienced growing up.
Yeah.
They've never been hit.
Yeah.
In fact, they've not even had timeouts.
Wow.
When my oldest was 18 months old,
Yeah.
is when I started doing instead of a timeout, because
Yeah.
you know, a timeout, it's like parents send their kids away
Yeah.
somewhere, you know, go
Right.
go to your room and think about what you've done.
Yeah, that's
Right?
that's
Nobody of us
isolating. Yeah.
think about what we did.
Right.
Nobody. We're all thinking about how we can get them back, or why this isn't fair.
Right.
Or
And tons of anxiety that goes with that too. Like, oh my god, what did I do, and how do I make this better, and like, how is this? Why am I here? Why am I in my room all by myself? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So instead, I created in their room. I created I don't remember what I called it, but it was like a corner of their room where all their favorite things were.
Yeah.
Like favorite blankets and pillows and books and toys and stuffed animals, and so, and it became a house rule for
Yeah.
all of us, adult and child alike, that when we got to the point where we couldn't really control our feelings or our body because the feelings were so big,
Right.
then it was time to take a break, and we would go to our comfy place with all of our favorite things.
Yeah.
And we would stay there until we felt like we had control again,
Yeah.
and we could come back and be around people. So my kids always had this place to go,
Mm-hmm.
and they decided when they were ready to come back. And sometimes it was a minute, and sometimes it was half an hour.
Right.
But it was always in their power.
Right. Wow. That's see. Wow.
And that's a skill they now use as teenagers, and I use as an adult. That when I've had enough, I take a break and I go surround myself with things that are calming and support me, and scent that I love, and until I feel like I can be back among people again.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Totally. And I completely understand that. Like, obviously Amanda and I don't have kids. That's obviously a big measure. That's a huge thing, full of pain and anguish and whatever. But we've kind of come to that same kind of conclusion that when we're both having it out, if you want to call it that, it's just best for me to go on my chair and just kind of sit and maybe read and just kind of just we each she'll go somewhere to just kind of like we go to a place where we regroup, and we I'll read, get into a try and get myself centered again to a place where we can kind of reconvene and say, okay, there's a better way for us to discuss this. Let's just do it. Let's just have this conversation. No yelling. And we try and use I feel statements, because that's extremely important, I think, for at least a marriage, and I think for anybody, because when you're saying you did this or you did that, or it becomes a fight, and I don't like
confrontational.
Exactly. And if there's one of my biggest character defects, Sheyna, is people pleasing and fear of confrontation. That like those are I can't deal with it. I'm terrible at that, and that's I'm obviously in recovery. I'm in a few 12-step programs, and that is something that I've really had to work on. And working in customer service, I won't say obviously as I always I don't say where I work, but working in customer service has really helped me kind of learn how to just jump in and then learn to we call it positioning. How do you position something to somebody that's going to make sense and not insult them and not make them feel like they're stupid, which and make them feel secure and that you're on their side.
One of the things that so whenever I write anything, whether I'm writing a blog post or an article or just creating something small that I put out on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or what have you, I have had people ask me, why don't you just say the things, say the whatever the meaning or the moral, or
I get it.
Why do I try to couch it,
right,
as you say, to position it?
And
the reason is that a lot of us, if we just hear, for instance, that when you really fully trust yourself completely, everything else falls into place. Like, we hear that, we go, I don't think so. We create lots of buts and what ifs.
Buts are
the rational mind takes over, but if I put it into a story of some sort and I show how it works, it's a lot more easy. It's a lot easier for people to take it in. And so I look at that as
makes it more in a word I like to use, it makes it more palatable.
Yes, exactly.
And sometimes you just got to do it. You got to you just got to find a way to communicate things without, well, for lack of a better term, being an asshole, so like you said, you've got your kids, you've got your husband. How's your husband doing? You doing okay?
Yeah, he's doing great.
Yeah.
We've the last little over 2 months we've had a bunch of work on the house.
Yeah.
The whole house had to have the plumbing replaced.
Oh, jeez.
We have the bathroom redone. It's a 100-year-old house.
Hey, so is ours.
Plumbing was original.
Yeah.
Yours is 1918 as well?
Not yeah. Well, 1917. I think it's a year and 101 or 102 years. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the character of these old houses, and we have, built-ins and woodwork, and which is awesome.
But what a pain in the ass.
When you've got 100-year-old cast iron paint running through the walls, there's problems that come with that.
Yeah. Amanda and I, we were just talking about that. We were saying, I was saying, this house has character, and we have such a love-hate relationship, and she was like, yeah, I know how it has character, and she's like, but it also has a lot of problems. I'm like, yeah, I can't argue with that, but it's funny when you're looking for a house, you're looking for a place that feels safe, a place that you can call home, and and I think we definitely jumped headed. It had happened right at we started looking for a house probably a month or two after our failed adoption, right? So we were looking to just dive in and do something that would distract us, basically. Something. We wanted a. I'm a much more traditional grieving person. When I grieve, I'm like, I lay in bed. I don't want anybody to talk to me. I just want you to leave me alone, and I don't want to go to work. I suffer from really bad depression. When it hits me hard, And Amanda, when something hits her, she's like, go, 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 go. I need to work, work, and I need a project, So her project, which eventually became our project, was looking for a new house. And this is the house that we found, and we definitely had rose-colored glasses because we wanted something, and when we got it, it was great, and then we just realized, shit, this house needs a lot of work. Yeah, no, I mean, it was. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still love this house. Like you said, it has a lot of character, but it's over 100 years old, and it definitely shows, and they don't show this kind of shit on House Hunters, I mean, yeah, I mean everything is like very glossy and everything, and I'm just like, we had a I just it was my word of the year is ordeal, and that would definitely. So that would work out pretty well for this situation, but
Well, when we met with the contractor initially,
yeah,
about what was going to happen with this job, he's like, so we're looking at if everything goes perfectly, which
right.
It won't, but if it were, we're looking at 6 weeks
minimum.
And we were like, and I kind of joked, and like, well, I thought that with commercials it would take about 45 minutes.
Yeah, no, I wish.
So I have what my coach Teresa Romaine refers to as a head tilt moment.
Okay.
Speaking about houses.
Yeah.
And work on houses and moving from a somewhat less stable where you're paying rent to a more stable buying a house.
Yeah.
And in our case, even more commitment of renovating. Teresa talks about how we're trained to think that what we have on the outside or what we see on the outside affects our internals, who we are on the inside.
Right.
And it's actually the opposite. Who we are and how we see ourselves on the inside gets reflected on the outside.
Yeah.
So how cool is it
Sure.
that it's reflected in our having the plumbing in the entire house redone.
Right. Right.
So like now the flow of water is unimpeded.
Yay!
In the same sort of way that I'm not blocking my own energy.
Okay.
I'm not hiding parts of myself anymore.
I can dig that. Yeah, I'm picking up what you're laying down on that. Sure. No, that makes sense. It's very symbolic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I see that everywhere. I mean, I certainly grew up thinking that, well, if, once I have this and that and this other thing, then I'll be happy.
Sure.
Or once once we get this done, then I can relax. And that's backwards.
Yeah.
The change has to start with me.
Yep.
And then it shows up outward in my life.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely. I just like I've had to work a lot on the inside to make the life I have on the outside, and I was in one of my more recent episodes. I was talking about, and this is kind of repeating what you were saying. If I could change things, I talk about if I could go back to that kid who was on the bima at my bar mitzvah and be like, look, kid, you're gonna have a couple choices. You're gonna have a fork in the road, and you're gonna do, there's gonna be a really hard way to do things, which is drugs, alcohol, pushing people away, being emotionally manipulative, or you can just go and be on your merry way and just do everything right, which what exactly does that mean, right?
I'm not sure there is a...
Yeah, there's no such thing as normal or the right way, but I said, honestly, I wouldn't choose it because, like you said, I'm a very, people always, I'll make jokes with my customers saying, I'll bitch and moan about my, my wife. Oh, the wife this, the wife that. It's kind of like very Henny Youngman, take my wife joke type thing. But I have an amazing marriage, and the thing is, everything that I've done, all the stupid decisions, all the smart decisions, which are more few and far between, have led me to where I'm, to this mic that I'm talking to you in right now,
Right.
And so I and I've had many therapists, some of them more effective than others, but ultimately it comes down the same way, I mean, I'm here and I'm doing okay, but getting away from like all this stuff, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, you've got a couple books. That's amazing. And that's such a weird transition to be like, oh, by the way, yeah, we have had this like giant, enormous trauma in our lives. Oh, hey, by the way, you wrote a book. But I have to ask, like, because I don't like dwelling on, if I don't want to dwell necessarily on the bad stuff, but I mean, but there's good stuff too. But what are your influences? I mean, your protagonist in your book is a rabbi. So I mean, what made you say, hey, you know what, this is my creation. I'm gonna make this rabbi. He's gonna help with these are gonna be suspense novels. Like what led you to that? What led you to decide, hey, I'm gonna make a book now. I'm gonna write a book.
So the genesis of the first book began in college.
Okay.
I was working on my bachelor's in psychology.
Sure.
And we had required classes for graduation, and I had to write papers that were compare and contrast.
Okay.
Sort of typical early college requirement kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was so bored. And I asked the instructor, can I be creative with this? Like, I'll
Nice.
still hit all the things that you want me to hit, but can I write it as a dialogue,
Yeah.
as a creative nonfiction through dialogue, instead of typical college essay?
Yeah. No. I get
he
it.
said, as long as I meet the requirements,
Right.
he was cool with it.
That's pretty awesome.
So it was actually a paper. The dog is like,
It's
there are sounds, I don't know where they're coming
well,
from.
I was gonna say I've seen your kid at least 3 times go into the fridge. I don't know, the fridge. That's like the hungriest kid I've ever seen. He has the metabolism of like a pit bull.
It was the paper that I wrote was comparing two vastly different philosophers and how their philosophies would apply to the Holocaust.
Oh wow.
And here he is back again.
Hey.
The paper that Anna writes in the book is actually, in a sense, relates to the paper that I wrote in college.
Right.
And I worked in the mental health field for a while, and I specialized in chemical dependency,
Hey.
particularly with women
Oh.
who grew up with trauma and were self-medicating.
Right. Sure.
And I did a bunch of work for several years in that arena, doing relapse prevention programs.
That's awesome.
Because when you're self-medicating to avoid PTSD symptoms,
Right.
flashbacks, nightmares, that whole thing, then, okay, so you get clean and sober, that's great, but then you still have the trauma to deal with.
Right. Yeah.
And so what do you do instead? That was the work that I did, and I burned out faster than I wanted to.
Right.
And then I went into education.
Education, okay.
And I taught for a few years, and then I discovered I was expecting my first child.
Hey.
And I had to, and which was quite actually the surprise, because we struggled with infertility for 5 years.
Wow, yeah.
And I thought it wasn't ever going to happen.
Right.
So once we were relatively sure, it was far enough along in the pregnancy that we were relatively sure that this was actually going to happen.
Right.
I had a decision to make. Did I go back to teaching, which the state changed their licensure requirements, so I would have had to have gone back to school for another 18 months to get additional training
Really?
to meet the licensure requirements.
It's interesting.
I was trained initially on a grade 1 through 6.
Okay.
And then they expanded their elementary license to be K through 8.
Oh wow.
So I would have needed the kindergarten and middle school endorsements.
That doesn't sit well when you're pregnant.
Right, or with a newborn.
Right, exactly.
And so then it's like, all right, do I go back to school? And teaching is not a 9 to 3 profession.
Right.
It's more like a 6 to midnight.
Forever
6
profession.
to midnight. What with lesson plans and prep work.
Homework
Anyway.
assignments.
Yeah. So then it was, do I pursue this and look at, putting this child in daycare,
Right.
which was going to cost at least as much as what I could possibly make teaching.
Sure.
And then it would just be a wash. Or do I stay home? And I decided to stay home. My husband and I figured that we could make it work
Yeah.
with his salary.
Okay.
Um, but then I discovered that being home with a newborn,
Yeah.
I went stir crazy.
Sure.
Like, I needed something more. I could only read Goodnight Moon so many times.
Right.
So I started writing.
Good.
And what came up for me was this college paper I had done years and years ago.
Right.
These characters would not leave me alone.
It's an interesting way to think about it.
Revisited them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much like I created the story as it was like somehow the veil between their world and my world thinned.
It flowed.
They could tell me, they could tell me what happened.
Sure.
And then I just wrote down what they told me.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool.
And at the time I wrote the first book thinking it was just for me. It was just for fun. It was, a way to not go completely insane.
Yeah.
And then I shared it with a few people, and they were like, "Oh, you should publish this."
Nice.
So I sent it off to a few different publishers, initially publishers, and then the next possibility was to look for an agent.
Yeah.
And the publishers came back almost universally with a "we love it, but." We love it, but we focus on nonfiction. We're not doing fiction. Or we love it, but
those buts again.
You're pitching it as a series, and you're an unknown. So we would publish this one, but we're not going to assign you to a series.
Right.
My favorite was "we love it, but could you make the rabbi character a minister? Because we can market Christian fiction better than we can market Jewish fiction."
And they can have Tom Bosley play the lead. We'll do a reboot of Father Dowling's Mysteries, but instead of the rabbi.
Right. And I have been asked, okay, so if I'm writing suspense, why is my main character a rabbi and not a cop?
Right. No, it's a valid question.
I have read all of Harry Kimmelman's Rabbi Small series.
Okay.
The Friday the Rabbi Was Late and all of those. They were written mostly in the 60s and the early 70s. They're straight mysteries.
Yeah.
And by today's standards, they're very sexist.
And sure. They have not aged well.
I mean, they're a great glimpse of what conservative Judaism looked like
back in the day,
the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Early 70s. But I was a huge fan of Jonathan Kellerman.
Oh yeah. The Butcher's Theater. I love that book.
Yeah. And all of the suspense, all the thrillers that I read and enjoyed were mostly they focused on whoever solved the mysteries, who often had some sort of law enforcement connection.
Right.
But I was always more, I don't know why, I was always more interested in the sidekick.
Right. Yeah.
The person with the law enforcement connection. Okay, I understand why they want to solve the mystery or catch the bad guy or whatever, but what about somebody who's sort of dragged along for the ride?
Right. Yeah.
And what do you do when your moral compass conflicts with law enforcement?
Okay.
I think that was fascinating.
That is fascinating. Yeah.
gun in his hands.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, all right, what do you take? What do you do when you have someone who is so very much committed to
Judaism,
life and preserving life,
right,
and that life is sacred, and then you tell him, okay, you might have to kill someone to defend yourself.
It's deep.
So a lot of it was to play with the contrasts, and again, through the rabbi character, I could explore things that would be out of the purview of a law enforcement character. I could look at morality. I could look at the kinds of things that a rabbi might encounter
right.
in his or her work, which would include things like trauma and domestic violence and chemical dependency.
Sure.
And, those were all things that interested me.
Sure.
I long ago determined that I like to read and write suspense and thrillers, in large part because it's about battling those demons vicariously through fiction.
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking about this in another podcast. People probably get tired of me repeating myself, but I wrote a screenplay back in like 2000, and it was about addiction. And I was such a goody two shoes, and at that point I had no idea what addiction was about. And I had this gal. I directed a scene in my theater class from my screenplay, and apparently it really resonated with this gal, and she like hugs me and she's like, your words were so real. And it was the best validation I gotten, because everybody's like, Hal, what do you know about drugs? You've never done anything with drugs, blah blah blah. And so it's kind of weird, because apparently I needed to go do some research. That's what I like to call it. I had to go out and do research and find out to be a better a better screenwriter, and eventually I'd like to think a better person. But anyway, no, I totally get it. Like, you got to draw from what your own experiences are, and but yeah, no, that totally makes sense. So I have to ask, are you somebody who like really, because it drives my wife nuts, this podcast. Not that I'm doing it, but the fact that I obsess over it, and I'm like, no, this needs to be edited out. No. I need the computer for a minute, because do you obsess over, like, when it, once you're done, or you're kind of like, or you're in the middle of the writing? I mean, do you kind of like go back and just like, oh man, I should do this, I should do that? Do you obsess over it? Do you, in other words, do you drive your spouse and your kids nuts?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay, all right, fair.
I will have scenes that keep me up at night.
Wow. Yeah.
Or where I know that the dialogue is close, but it's not quite right.
Sure.
Or I've got a plot hole that I can't quite figure out how to make it work. I have learned through experience that the way to deal with those is not to be up between 2 and 5 a.m.
Yeah.
But to walk away from it and do something else.
Sure.
And then come back to it. And then it's like, oh, all right, now I see what I couldn't see before.
Right. Oh, no.
But it is hard to walk away.
Yeah. It's like your pet.
In your case, it may be a little different because you've got more of a schedule. Fortunately, as much as I have readers and my editor asking, so when is the next book?
Yeah, right.
Tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
I just haven't. I have not to this point been able to crank out a book a year.
No, few people are. Stephen King. I don't know what's. Apparently he knows what he. I don't know how anybody does it. I don't like. This is I mean, I used to have a blog and I would write in it, but like after a while, I get burned out, you know. So like, you know, I need to take a break, you know, for years apparently. But yeah, you know, and then I'll come back to it and I'll be like, oh, this is actually this is actually half decent. But when it does get published, do you? I mean, how do you feel about the final product? Do you are you? I mean, do you get protective of it? I mean, I mean, how do you feel when it actually comes out and comes to fruition and it's been published, it's out there? I mean, how's that?
This is a fantastic question.
Oh, hey, thanks.
Because it answering it will show my healing and growth.
Okay.
So when the first book came out,
Mm-hmm.
well, first of all, I didn't really do any marketing around it.
Yeah.
The first book came out right after my second child was born.
Okay.
Which I now recommend, like, don't have a child come into your life and release a book in the same year. It's just a bad idea.
I'll keep that in mind.
But I thought then that, like, I needed to defend my work. And I thought, like, you know, I felt like I sent a little piece of my soul out
I get
in
that.
the book. And then, you know, many people were saying really nice things about it, and a few people were saying some critical things about it, and then I felt like I was being judged as a person.
Yeah.
After the second book came out,
Yes.
I felt literally addicted to reviews.
Oh, sure.
The bad ones, it didn't matter. It was like I lived for those great reviews of the 5 stars.
Yeah.
But I obsess on the 1 stars or the, you know, I didn't like it kind of thing.
Well, we're Jews. We obsess on the negative.
So
It's part of the
I
gig.
had to basically go on review abstinence.
Yeah.
And in the course of that, I stumbled. I don't believe in coincidences. So
Oh.
I was gifted with Elizabeth Gilbert's comment, her take on criticism.
Yeah.
And she had 2 things to say in particular that I thought they changed my whole view. One was that in her world, people have to earn the right for her to listen to their criticism.
Okay.
Like,
I get
anybody
it.
can be critical, but
Yeah.
the only people that she cares about are the people who have proven themselves to her to be honest, but also to be kind.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
not about, you know, ripping somebody's work apart,
Right.
which some critics like to do.
Yep.
The other thing she had to say was that once your work is out there,
Mm-hmm.
it's done.
It's done.
Like, it's done. Once it's out in the world, it's again, I'm a little shout out to my coach Teresa. She plays this clip from I don't quite remember the name of the movie. I think it's called like 81 Days.
Okay.
It takes place in a rehab center.
Oh, 28 days.
Yes.
It's Sandra Bullock.
Oh, yes. I made it way longer.
Well, sometimes that's how long it takes.
So yes, 28 days, and there's a scene where Matthew McConaughey, is he in it?
Viggo Mortensen.
That's who it is. Yes. So he's teaching her how to pitch a ball.
Yep.
And he tells her that once she can control her stance
Yeah.
and the power, but once the ball leaves her hand, it's not her job anymore.
Oh, wow.
And I started applying that to my written work.
That's pretty cool.
It's
That's cool.
out in the world, it's not my job anymore. I can control what I say, I can have a say in the editing, how it's packaged, how it's published, where it's distributed. But in terms of how people take it, that's not my job.
So like I hear what you're saying, and I not having a child myself, but I've again I'm obsessed with Stephen King, so don't Stephen King said it's almost like when you put you raise a kid, you put you do the best you can with him, you give him all of yourself to them to be good people, but after when you send them to college, and then when they become adults, you just have to play it as it lays, and that's you did your best. So
Yes.
so
Yep.
and that's not having a kid, that I can't really speak for it, but that really resonated for me too, because like once you put something creatively out there, it really, there's not much you can do after that other than just grin and bear it, and hopefully, it works out in the end,
Right.
Right.
So the thing that's coming up at the moment is when my kids were little
Sure.
and it was school picture time.
Okay.
Like the first year they had school pictures.
Right.
I wanted them to dress nicely. I wanted, hair nice. I wanted to go with them to make sure their hair was just so, and I wanted them to smile nicely and all of that for the photos.
Right.
And then it was to the point where I was stressing myself out. Like,
Sure.
maybe I should volunteer to be there for a photo time. And it was like, wait. Like, I'm putting way too much into this.
Right.
These photos are a literal snapshot of who they are in this moment. And that's it.
Right.
And so now I look at my work that way too. I do not go back and edit old work.
Right.
Like, knowing what I know now, I will not go back to an old blog post and fix it up now that I know differently. Because that's a snapshot of who I was
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah, totally.
I tell when I work with writers, helping them with their craft, one of the things I tell them is that, because they're like, I look back on stuff I wrote years ago and I cringe, like, how horrible. And I'm like,
Yeah.
That's fantastic. You want that, because that shows that you've grown in your craft.
Yeah.
If you look back at stuff you did 10 years ago and it's exactly the same as what you're doing now, there's no growth there.
Right. Yeah. No, I wrote a second script, and at the time, I was in active addiction, and I was doing a lot of drugs when I wrote it, drinking a lot, smoking a lot of cigarettes, and I read it now, and it's I cringe, and I'm just like, oh my god, whoa, like, and now that you mentioned it, that's good. Because I looked at another screenplay that I wrote after that. It's unfinished, but I was just like, oh my god, wow, talk about growth, like, and it's like, it's just mind-boggling how just living your life and just experiencing those experiences can just enrich the creative process and what you do. Absolutely. So yeah, but so clearly you're obviously an advocate for mental health, and awareness.
Yes.
So I gotta talk to you. I've seen you at all these different these different, like, I don't want to say Comic-Con or anything, but like in these fests with you, like the supernatural people. You were talking.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta ask, how'd that happen? How's that? You got there's a story behind that, and I want to know, because I haven't watched it for a while, but I was a huge supernatural fan. So they gotta be nice people. They're doing that. They're holding the index cards up, and
Yeah.
talk to me about that. What happened? Tell me, what's the story with that?
So I discovered the show the middle of summer of 2016.
Okay.
I was having a fibromyalgia flare, and
Oh, yeah.
much as I wanted to, I couldn't get out of bed. I was like crawling to the bathroom, and that was about all I could handle.
Yeah, it's
But my
a
brain
bitch. Yeah.
wanted to do stuff, so I'm scrolling through Netflix,
Yeah.
and it was like, because you watched whatever
Right.
recommended
Right.
show. Okay, so I started watching, and I was intrigued. It, certainly it fit what I needed at the time.
Yeah.
And there was. So I'm actually going to quote Mark Pellegrino.
Okay. I love him.
Lucifer.
Yeah, and he was on Lost. He was like
Exactly.
the bad guy, the badish guy kind of.
Yeah, he played Bishop in Being Human. And
He was
the US version.
Yeah, he was the ex-husband on Dexter too, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, good actor.
He's actually. I had a really interesting conversation with him this last fall.
Okay.
About. I mean, this whole show, Supernatural,
Yeah.
is at its heart a show about orphans.
Yeah.
Literal orphans and metaphorical orphans, but people who
gone through trauma.
They've gone through trauma, but also they're either because of death or because of estrangement or rebellion or whatever. They're not connected to their origin, their family of origin.
Right.
And so they create a family by choice.
Sure.
And he talks about that the fandom, the people who are Supernatural fans, that's one of the uniting factors, is that the vast majority of fans also feel like they don't have, again, it's like, they don't really have the idyllic happy childhood.
Sure.
Or, they feel somehow cast out in
Yeah.
some way. Either, they came out and they were rejected, or they just don't fit in. They've always been the black sheep of their family, those kinds of things. Or they feel judged. And so they resonate with the characters, one or more of the characters in the show. And then the show is also, it's about these sort of outcasts, if you will, orphans, who ultimately always win. Even when they lose, they win.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's like a way of, to my mind, it's a way, it shows that there's always hope.
Yeah.
It demonstrates determination and rising to the challenge.
Yeah. That scene where, spoiler alert, when Sam drops into the pit, like before he drops in the pit, they had that whole scene of little flashes of like their brotherly love, and then he, like, I sobbed because it's like, he couldn't, like, no matter how evil Lucifer was, or the apocalypse was, their relationship, that brotherhood, like, couldn't defeat his love, and he takes the dive into the pit again. Sorry guys, spoiler alert, listeners, if you haven't watched it, sorry, you've had 10 12 years to watch this. So anyway,
season 5, so 9 years ago.
Yeah, so exactly that. So, but no, like that I sobbed, and when when Bobby, when he died, like, I sobbed with that. Like, you grow with these characters because, like you said, I mean, they have a family that is not necessarily blood, but and there's something to be said for that, because my wife and I were talking about Thanksgiving. And the thing is, and we're watching Jimmy Kimmel too, and this is, I'm digressing just a teeny bit, but it relates. I think next year we're just gonna have a friendsgiving, because the thing is, like it's so stressful to have, family, and just get your house, try and clean up, and just be, and with family, it's just there's so much judging and all that kind of stuff, and but the thing is, when you have friends, most friends usually will accept you for who you are, the good ones,
Right.
and when you have something like, say, Friendsgiving or something like that, I think that's to me, I don't get me wrong, I love my family, I love my parents, I love them, but to me, blood doesn't necessarily mean anything to me.
Yeah.
Family, blood is blood you can get only so much mileage out of blood relatives, and at that point, from there you make your own family, and that's, to me, that's paramount to being to your the experience of life is making those relationships, and it doesn't have to be blood. Blood's overrated, I think. So
Yeah, I agree completely.
yep. So
I was answering a question online probably a year and a half ago
yeah,
about like what does supernatural mean to me?
yeah,
And
okay,
I wrote the line that ultimately, as I saw it, the show was about the struggle to love and accept ourselves, even in the midst of failure and pain.
yeah,
And then I
absolutely,
wrote it and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is like, I mean, yes, that's true for the show. That's how I see it. But that's also at the heart of everything I write.
yeah.
And then it was like, all right,
That's awesome.
I'm claiming that. That's
That's yours. That you're like, back off, people. That's mine. You can't take
right.
it. Yeah. So, well, that's awesome. That's were they nice? I mean, they clearly are nice people. I mean, not that but clearly you must have struck some sort of chord in them that they were holding up those cards with you, and I was looking at that, and I was like gobstruck. I was just like, my jaw was the ground. I was like, how'd she get them to do that? And it clearly, whatever you said, it resonated with them too. And I mean, and this conversation that we're having right now, like, this is probably one of the deepest conversations that I've had on this podcast. I mean, one of the most, emotionally, you know um you know I, I've gotten choked up a couple times listening to what you have to say. So what you say, whether it's in writing or verbalizing it, uh I mean, you're a very wise lady, and and whatever you've gone through, whatever you've gone through has probably changed and helped and enriched so many other people's lives. I demand, like, you have my respect.
Thank you.
You have my respect, so yeah, and I'm very grateful that we had this time, and I'm glad I didn't have to learn how to do Zoom, because that I like you said you brought that into the equation, and I seriously, like, I nearly shit a brick, because I was like, I can barely know how to do Skype. So thank you for agreeing to do
Glad my
Skype with me,
Wi-Fi hooked up.
but the thing I want to know is what's next. What I mean, you got two books now. I'm not gonna push it. But what's next for Sheyna Galyan? Because now I know absolutely how to pronounce your last name. So what's next what's the next chapter, so to speak?
I'm working on several things at once.
Not
I'm
it's
working
life.
on the third book
Yeah,
in the Rabbi series.
yeah.
So it is coming slowly, but it's coming.
Yay!
I am working on a new series.
Oh,
It's a brother sister
thing.
protagonist.
Okay.
They're Jewish, but not religiously so. So
Okay.
it's more just kind of a background cultural.
Sure. Gotcha.
Um, cop with St. Paul PD.
Oh, cool.
She's been in and out of mental institutions because
Yeah.
she hears voices.
Okay.
And he has resigned himself to helping to care for her pretty much for the rest of her life.
Right.
Until the voices that talk to her start talking to him and helping him solve cases.
Damn, that sounds. I'm in. I'm in. You got me.
So a little bit of paranormal stuff.
Hey, you bring in anything paranormal, I'm in. I'm all about that. So, well, that's awesome.
I'm also working on a book, a nonfiction book.
Okay.
About. This is probably the one that will get released next.
Okay.
But it's a nonfiction book about tapping into intuition and our own personal inner guidance.
Right.
As a supplement to other external therapies for healing from trauma.
Wow. That's
and I'm also I'm starting to lay the groundwork to do some one-on-one and group like live work or work over Zoom.
Sorry.
Zoom or Skype.
We'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. I'm sure at some point I'm gonna have to learn how to do it. So, but thank you for being flexible. But continue.
So doing work, in person, phone, video call, however, to help people and women in particular, help them reconnect with their true self, with their souls, so that they can become the full expression of who they are.
Awesome. That's really cool. That's awesome. Again, wow. I'm just impressed that you got that bird to stop, chirping in the background. But no. That's, man. They say one of my favorite things that my sponsor said is, God doesn't put anything more on your plate than you can handle, and he goes, he must think you're really hungry. So you lady have got a full plate, sounds like it going on, and honestly I'm in awe of it, but I'm so appreciative that you were able, were willing to take the time to talk with me, and I hope you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it was absolutely, the pleasure's mine, Sheyna, and I will let you continue doing whatever your work you were probably doing in the background with the people that were walking past you, and yeah. Well, either way, I wish you the best of luck, and I appreciate you being on the show, and I will hopefully we'll see each other at synagogue soon, or we'll bump into each other at some point, and I wish you the best of luck, and have a good rest of your holiday season. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Happy, healthy one, and to you, the kids, and your husband. Okay.
Will do. Say hi to Amanda for me.
I will. Thanks, Sheyna.
Thank you, Hal.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
And that, my fellow neurotics, is an amazing woman whose name is Sheyna Galyan, and I am just absolutely. I've never gotten really emotional on the show with a guest, but I guess I lucked out with this one, and it was truly something special, and I'm a lucky guy, and we all have our demons to battle, and how we deal with it. There's no right or wrong way. It's just the way it is, and we just have to find our way, and we can do it with friends, we can do it with family, whatever you want to define as family. But as always, we do it. We always just do it one day at a time.